name's Annette, and you may know me as Nettersplays. And today I'm going to go over my acquisitions and impressions for the month of April. Now, this is where I go over the games that I acquired in April and give you my general first impressions of those games. So, for the month of April, I managed to acquire 9 different games, and I got to play 8 of those games. I also acquired an accessory, so I'm also going to throw that in there too. So, let's get to it. Well, the first game I'm going to go over is this game called Mystic Vale. Now, I did not acquire Mystic Vale. I acquired it before, but this month I acquired the Vale of the Wild expansion. So I didn't get to play this game yet or expand onto my base game because I got it at the end of the month and I haven't managed to play it. But if you're not familiar with Mystic Vale, it's a really cool, unique card crafting system where you have these sleeved cards and you have a starting deck of 20 cards, and then what you'll do is you'll acquire these clear plastic cards, which you'll go ahead and slide in and kind of craft your new deck or your new card in your deck. You're never getting more cards than 20, but these cards are becoming more and more powerful the more you progress in the game. Now, the cool thing with the expansion is they add more of these clear advancement cards. However, these advancement cards also have a new system where you can eclipse or you can cover up that area in order to just acquire the special ability on the side. So that's something unique and different. I'm interested in trying that out. And also, it brings these new leader cards, which wasn't even in the base game. This is completely new. So you go ahead and acquire one of these cards, and it's randomly for every player, and you start with that leader. Now the leader will give you a special ability just for yourself, and then if along the game you can have the opportunity to upgrade your leader to make it more powerful, and they'll help you in certain different ways. So that's a really nice added variety to the game, and plus the artwork on these cards is just wonderful. So definitely, if you're a fan of Mystic Vale, well, I'm still interested in trying out what the expansion has to offer, but I can tell you already, I'm really looking forward to trying the leader cards in this game. So the next thing that I acquired is not a game itself, but it's an accessory for a game that I often play a lot, and that is the box for the Hero Realms deck. What it originally came in is this small little box, and it's really perfect if you don't sleeve your cards, but because I play this game so often and it's a deck builder, it's best that I sleeve my cards. So once I sleeved them, then the box just sat up like that and it didn't really close right, and if I put anything on top, it would just bend my cards. So I thought that, the next best thing is to get this big box to kind of protect it. And not only did it just protect my cards, but it also offered this special divider areas, and it also gave me a whole bunch of sleeves, and it's a really good quality sleeve for these cards. And once I got the box and then the card sleeve, I had so much space in the whole box itself. So definitely there's more space for more expansions. And it also came with a promo card. This is another special card that did not come in the base game, but I can actually add to my deck. It's something that I play often, and it's something that I use often. And if you're a fan of Hero Realms and you are planning to expand it or just sleeve the cards themselves, I would highly suggest getting this big box right here, because you have the opportunity to expand. You have the nice sleeves, and you also get a promo card along with it. So the first game I'll go over that I did manage to play is this game called Ion, a compound building game. Now, this game right here is a science-based drafting game. So if you're familiar with games like Sushi Go or Seven Wonders, where you have a whole hand of cards, you have a card, and then you keep a card, and then you pass the rest, and you keep on doing this until you're pretty much done with cards. It sort of works like that too. However, what you're collecting are different ions. So ions come either with positive charge or a negative charge. And when you acquire these cards, you can decide to bond them to other cards or not. When you bond them, you have to make sure that a positive bonds with a negative, And so this game itself is kind of showing you exactly like what different ion types there are, if they're either positively charged or negatively charged. And also it gives you different options for these different tiles that you can pick and choose during the game to use, which are special abilities, offers these different benefits, but they also give you negative points. Now, the thing is, with the Ion game, I only played it with 2 players, and it was pretty much a learning game, just to see how it worked. And I don't think it shined with 2 players at all. So this is more or less a game for a big group. Just like Seven Wonders is a game that works really well with the big group. And also Sushi Go works really well with the big group. But with 2 players, those games really don't shine. So definitely this game is something that is just really great, I can imagine, with a bigger group. Now the cool thing though about this game is the fact that it is a science-based game, and along the whole game, I mean, you're playing cards of course and you're just trying to make things match and everything, but then at the end of the game you're kind of like, oh okay, well I kind of learned that, you know, potassium and chlorine and stuff, if they're positively or negatively charged, so you're kind of learning some stuff. There's some gold cards too that kind of explain a little bit about these different kind of compounds and how they're used in the real world and such. So it kind of gives you a little bit of information and such. So it's a really interesting kind of application of theme to a regular drafting kind of card game. And it's a theme that's not really used, which is science. So definitely this is more or less a game that's really good for teaching new people about, you know, different types of ion chemicals or compounds and such like that. So definitely if you're into a science-based drafting card game, then you should probably check out Ion. So the next game I'm going to go over is a game that I also managed to play, and it's a type of game that I've kind of been into recently, and that's a roll and write game. Now I've acquired a lot of other roll and writes, which if you're not familiar, roll and write is where you have a set of dice, you roll it, and whatever the outcome is, you kind of write it down on a sheet of paper or something like that. Well, this game right here, it's called Saint Malo, and it's a little different than that because by the cover of it, you just really can't tell it's a roll and write. It's not like Yahtzee or Quicks or anything like that. It looks like a game that belongs on this shelf that's another Euro. So it kind of does look that kind of way because even the boards look like that. You don't have these big grid systems or anything. You have like a town going on, and you have this island that has all these different points on it and such. So with this game, what you have are these different types of dice, and they have different faces on them, like churches, or they have walls and such. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to build this city of St. Malo. Now St. Malo has, of course, different types of buildings. It has architects, different types of personas or characters in the city. Also has churches and even a wall that you're trying to build around the city, because you have pirates that come along and they take points from you. So definitely this game is a little different than any of the other roll and writes I have, but it's also unique and different to the point where I can also draw on this instead of just Xing things out or writing a number in. You can get pretty creative with this board right here. So I've really been enjoying that. And it also feeds in that kind of Euro sense of, because of just the artwork on these boards, it feels kind of like an ancient kind of game. I know it's kind of bland, but it's something that I'm familiar with because I play so many different types of Euros. So definitely if you're interested in a roll and write game that looks a little different, and also where you can be a little creative and kind of trying to figure out the spatial element of a game, then you should definitely check out Saint Malo. So this next game is also a roll and write that I also acquired. It's a different kind of acquisition though, because it's a print and play game. And that game is 30 Rails. So in this game, you have this grid system and you have these numbers depending on the die value. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to build track. The types of tracks are on the bottom of the page. And also you have 2 dice that you need to have around, which I have plenty of dice. And so you need 2 different color dice. You roll the dice and you figure out where you're going to place it in your grid system, along with what type of route you're going to place it there. And the objective of the game is to connect different stations that are on the outside of the board or the grid, and you're trying to connect these different stations to one another, and you're trying to manage points that way, also while connecting it to different mines and such. So I've really been enjoying this game a lot. It's a game that I've been playing a lot solo, and also it plays 10 plus players depending on how many of these sheets you have, because you can all play along. There's nothing really you can take away from any other player. It's just a matter of who scores the most points with the same outcome. So yeah, if you're interested in a print and play game, which is free minus the ink and paper, but if you're interested in trying out this kind of weird kind of route building, roll and write system, then you should definitely check out 30 Rails. So the next game I acquired is a game that I found at a BGG auction, and it was a really great price, and after doing a little bit of research I found out that this game seemed pretty interesting and kind of funny too. So that game is called Leaping Lemmings. Now, Leaping Lemmings, if you're not familiar with the actual story of the Leaping Lemming, it's supposed to be a folklore. However, come to find out, it's one that Disney kind of created. So the story behind that is really horrible, because it was a documentary where they have all these lemmings, and they would push these lemmings off of a cliff, saying that they would just randomly fall off a cliff and kind of swim to the sunset off to death. However, come to find out, it was just a whole bunch of Disney people in the background kind of pushing and kicking the lemmings off cliffs. So horrible, horrible thing. However, the story of the Leaping Lemming in this game is not about that at all. Actually, it's about these lemmings that are racing to fly off a cliff. Yeah, okay. So it's really still the same. But the cool thing about this game is the fact that you have this area, this grid system, and what you're trying to do is to get your lemmings from one space to the other side of the board. And along the way you have this eagle, actually two eagles, that are kind of flying about, and if they're in open space, then they're gonna get picked at and kind of eaten. So this game sounds a little bit mean and horrible. However, it's a lot of fun. It's a racing game where players are controlling the eagle, and they're taking turns doing that, along with moving their lemmings across the path. They're jumping off cliffs to score points, and they're getting eaten along the way, and you have special cards that you can use, and it's just a lot of fun. It's really silly. It's meant to be light like that. It's also a GMT game, which is really odd because they tend to build these war games, which is really interesting because now they have this kind of interesting little, you know, racing game, and it's kind of a push your luck kind of game with dice and stuff. So definitely different for that kind of publisher, but after playing this game I found out it's a lot of fun. And if you haven't heard of Leaping Lemmings, it's a lot of light fun. It's supposed to be meant to take lightly. It's a horrible thing that ever happened in the history of lemmings, but definitely it's a lot of fun when you're playing it on the table with a group of friends. So the next game I also acquired is this game called Tack. Now, Tack is a beautiful game, just like it states on the cover itself, but from looking at the picture on the cover, which it is a picture, it's just the pieces themselves. It's very simple, it's very abstract, and that's exactly what the game is. The game comes with this board, which is double-sided, and also on this side right here, you can pretty much play it in different sizes, like a 3x3, a 4x4, or even a 5x5. Now, the pieces themselves, they come in different types of shapes. So they come in these really nicely cut pieces that are wooden, and also capstones too. Now, the game itself is simple, where you're only going to place or you're going to move pieces on the board. And that's pretty much it as far as your options of what to do with your pieces. There's different types of pieces though. There's like the capstone, there's also this flat piece that can be also stood up to be a wall. And the way that they're used on the board is different. So of course things are evolving and becoming a little bit more heavier, and also the board is just either could be like a 3x3, 4x4, it can even go to an 8x8. In that case, you don't even need this board. You can just play it on a coffee table or something like that. So it really offers a lot of ways of how to play the game, whether you're playing it casually, in a tournament, at a cafe, at home. It's a 2-player only game, just like chess or just like checkers or something like that. But it's a really tactical kind of game with a lot of strategy involved as well. I also got the companion book with this too. So the companion book itself goes over this history of how this game was developed. So this game was originally thought out by Patrick Rothfuss in his book series. If you're not familiar with The Name of the Wind or the Wise Man's Fear, it's a fantastical kind of series of books. And so he created this game that people would play at the bar. And so he kind of had this imaginary game, and then James Ernest teamed up with him and kind of created this game in the real world. So it kind of goes over the history of that, how it's applied and played in the book, how it's applied and played in real life. So it's a really interesting little read, and I just go ahead and box it in with the game itself. It's really interesting and unique and different, even though it's an abstract and it's simple. So definitely, if you're interested in abstract games and having something that's kind of going to grow with you, you should definitely check out TAC. So another game that I also managed to play this past month is this game called Town Center. Now, Town Center is a game for 1 to 4 players, and I played this at my friend's house, and he taught me the game, and he introduced me to this really weird kind of puzzle game, and it really twisted my brain a lot, and it just made me think about this game and how to approach it so much that I got my own copy. So the cool thing about this game is that it has a bag full of these thick kind of cubes, and what you're doing is one person's going to draw from the bag all these different cubes. They're going to arrange them in stacks of 2, and then it's kind of like a I split, you choose type of system. However, you're going to go ahead and choose from any one of these stacks, but you can only pick from the top first. So if you want to get this cube, you cannot acquire it until someone has taken the top cube. And sometimes you don't even want to take that top cube because you know you're going to offer it to someone else. So there's a lot of challenge in just a simple little system like that, because it's just the I split you choose system, but because of the stacking element, the 3-dimensional element applied to it, it really creates this new, like, unique kind of puzzle of just splitting and auctioning these kind of pieces or drafting them out. Now, once you acquire these different pieces, then you go on your board and you place them. Simple, but it's not, because these buildings are all different based on the color, and they all work in different ways based on what's next to them or around them. Also, it's just a really complex way of just trying to figure out how to get points. And to get points, you're trying to build this city, but you also need money to purchase these kind of blocks and kind of purchase these spaces on the outer suburbs area of the map. It's a really cool and unique kind of abstract kind of puzzle, and I've really been enjoying it. It's something that is, I don't know, it's not for everyone, but I've really been enjoying it because I really love puzzles and kind of figuring out things, and it's like taking a test in a way. However, it's just interacting with all players as well, because you're doing the whole splitting and choosing of these different pieces, and that's just really an extra element to the puzzle itself. So definitely, if you're interested in a puzzle-like kind of new game with all these unique twists and such, you should definitely try out Town Center. So another game that I also managed to play is this game called Inka. Now, Inka is the game of the Edo artisans, and this is based off a certain type of time period back in Japan. You can see all the different people or Japanese people of that time and their different type of style and occupations too. So in this time period, in the game itself, you have these different occupations, and they acquire and give you some resources and such. However, this board is absolutely beautiful, along with the cards. Every component in the game itself is just awesome. So on the board itself, you have these different seasons, which represent rounds. You go through the different rounds, and then along the way, you're going to run into fires and such, which are harmful for everyone. But the really interesting thing is this round system here, this place system, along with movement system, and this order system. It's just, everything is right here. So players are going to decide, you know, who's going to go first. So someone's going to decide, oh, I want to go first when picking cards that are along the side. Or I want to go last for special reasons because they really don't care about the cards, but they want to move to a certain area. So this is representing what order you are going to be in to take the cards. It will also represent the movement around the board because you're shopping around all these different areas from the cards that you acquire and place on the board, so you can go ahead and shop. So this system right here is managing the whole board because you're figuring out what's going to come onto the board, you're going to figure out where you're going to go and where others are going to go along the way too. So it's a really interesting system, really great interaction between players. And the artwork, just everything about this game is just so elegant. I just absolutely fell in love with it. And so it's something that I really will treasure. So I'm interested in just playing this game even more and introducing it to more people. So if you haven't heard of Iki, it's a really hard game to find. However, I think it's really worth it. If you do find it, get it. So the final game that I'll talk to you about is a game that I have been playing a lot of this past month. I really have been looking forward to this game for almost a year, and I finally got it. And that game is Yokohama. So this is, again, another Japanese-based game. And I don't know, but the Japanese designers and these different games that they've been developing has been really, really hitting me in a really special way because I feel like I've connected with these new and interesting mechanisms that I haven't seen before. So in Yokohama, it kind of works in this weird kind of Mancala kind of way, along with a route building system, of course set collection, I don't know, worker placement type. It's got a lot of things in it that I really enjoy. So, but the cool thing about it is that whole route building system involved in the game, because on your turn what you can do is you have these different assistants all over the board, or you can place them all over the board. However, you have one president which will do an action on a board. So on your turn, you can either put 3 assistants on 3 different locations, or you can put 2 assistants in 1 location. After that, you move your president onto a tile that has assistants of your type on it. So from that, then you add up how much influence you have on that tile, which will signify how much power or things you can take from that area. So it's a really unique kind of system. You could really build up in certain areas and kind of take, but then in a bigger, higher count group, when you're playing it with 4 players, you have all these people that are just in your way constantly. You're having to pay them or just go around them. So it's a really interesting kind of way of interacting with other players on the board itself. There's a lot going on. You can gain points anywhere pretty much. And it's a really cool and unique way of playing a simple little game where you're just putting pieces all over the board, and then you're putting 1 piece to signify you have influence there. But managing all that and getting all these resources, selling orders and getting points, like all of that is just, there's so much game in this box that I've really been having a really fun time with Yokohama. So it's something to keep your eye out on. So I haven't heard any bad things about Yokohama yet. So if anything, I think it's a really great game. If you like those kind of heavy games, or if you don't like those heavy games, it's something just that's simple actually. It looks overwhelming on the table, but the rules were very easy. Every time I had a question, I looked in the rule book and the answer was there. So it's really well written. It really kind of appeases the audience, the players themselves, by handling all those questions and explaining the rules in a very like simple kind of way. So definitely you should keep your eye out on Yokohama and try it out if you like. So that is my game of the month as well, Yokohama. Well, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe too. And also feel free to leave a comment and tell me also what are some games that you acquired. What are some games that you've liked that you've played this past month as well. So feel free to just leave any comment down below. Also, you could follow me. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook. I also am a part of Meeples Included, the Instagamers Network, and now I'm also a part of the Dice Tower Network as well on Board Game Breakfast. So you could pretty much find me all over the place as Nettersplays. Well, thank you again, and I'll see you next time. Bye!